Ravens are excited to hang their hat on good special teams and offensive play, especially when their McNair gets hurt again. But that defense is better than that, and they know it. As for the Cardinals, I'd start worrying because their defense did not play well. They had a stupid penalty right at the end that blew the game for them on the part of Adrian Wilson with unnecessary roughing. Matt Leinart blew enough to the point that he got benched for Kurt Warner. And he's the future of this franchise, so the Cardinals need to be worried right about now because they need Leinart to play well. And Kurt Warner came out and did really well, so you can't really make many excuses for Leinart. He needs to do better, it's plain and simple. The Browns and Raiders collided in Oakland. Oakland wins 26-24 on a pretty funny play at the end where Oakland calls a timeout right before Cleveland kicks the game-winning field goal. Cleveland has to do it again. It gets blocked. It's the same thing that happened to Oakland last week, except this time Oakland wins the game. So what goes around comes around. Good job, Oakland, picking up the first win. It's kind of an interesting quarterback situation down there. It seems like McCown and Culpepper keep subbing in and out, and both are playing fairly well. So, good job on their parts. Lamont Jordan is tearing things up, and I did not expect this from him at all. I kind of thought he was washed up and he was done in this league, but he's playing well, very well this season. Keep an eye out on him. Ronald Curry playing well as the number 2 receiver now that Randy Moss is traded. Gotta like what he's been able to do going deep and stuff. And as for the Browns, disappointing. After what happened last week, you thought maybe, just maybe, this team's a little good. And they let a win slip through their fingers with that blocked field goal right at the end. They got pretty poor play out of the quarterback spot, a couple of picks. One got returned for a crucial touchdown. They tried to come back at the end, and that attempt got thwarted. But, I don't really know who to put this game on. They didn't run the ball well, and they didn't pass the ball well. I guess their defense wasn't exactly perfect either. But I do want to give a quick shout out to Kimberly Wembley, I believe is his name. He had 2 sacks, so he's back on track. And watch this kid. I think he's going to be a superstar in this league, even if he continues to play for Cleveland. Denver continues to disappoint me. They could not run the ball against Jacksonville, and as tough as it is to run the ball against Jacksonville, that's something they need to be able to do. Figure out a way to do that. Let me see here. Travis Henry completely bottled up. Jay Cutler played reasonably well until the pick at the end, but under normal circumstances, he played well enough to win, hooking up with Brandon Marshall. A really underrated guy that I like, Brandon Marshall. He reminds me of Terrell Owens, as I think I've said in the past, and I think he's going to have his opportunity to shine in this league now that, what's his name? Rod Smith is on the PUP list until week 7. So, keep an eye on that. The Denver run defense continues to kind of suck. They can't stop much of anybody. They can't really stop anyone, that is, even though they've got good personnel. They can play the pass. They held down Garrard pretty good. They've held down all the quarterbacks they've played so far extremely well. But it's not going to count for much if you can't stop the run, so they need to figure that out immediately. As for Jacksonville, nice to see their running game get back on track, even though Maurice Jones-Drew continues to disappoint everyone. I don't know what's wrong with him. Maybe he was just a one-year wonder, and now the teams are game planning for him. Maybe he's not who we thought he was. We'll see. David Garrard, pretty average game, protected the ball, was conservatively good, and I guess you're going to take that, especially when you win the game. And big ups to the Jacksonville defense. After what happened against Tennessee, you could hear the question marks popping up everywhere, but they got back on track, and they just completely eliminated Travis Henry from this game. And Hender Stroud hates getting embarrassed, so that was special. D'Angelo Hall is a dumbass, in other news. Was largely responsible for the 27-20 loss to Carolina. Carolina played pretty well, ran the ball very well. Deshaun Foster and D'Angelo Williams teaming up to really play some solid football. Carolina needs to run the ball. That's what their offense really needs to be able to do. And you saw it today. Delhomme throws for 109 yards, and that's it. So for them to be able to win that game anyway, that's big, in my opinion. Ooh, excuse me. Steve Smith got shut down by D'Angelo Hall, so in that aspect, Hall did fine. But he had a penalty for defensive pass interference, and then there was a personal foul. And those two calls were extremely costly to Atlanta and may have cost them the game. So to shut down one of the best receivers in the game and then blow it on something stupid like that, to me, I don't even know. That's beyond stupidity to me. And I heard he got beat up in the locker room afterwards. It's pretty dumb. It's probably just a stupid rumor, but I could totally see that happening. Also, I gotta say, Atlanta played well, and the Carolina defense has to be embarrassed. Harrington played a very good game, 361 yards. Roddy White looked like Terrell Owens. They were somewhat effective in running the ball. I still want to see more Jarius Norwood and less work done. But my hat's off to Atlanta. They got good quarterback pressure as well. 4 sacks. John Abraham still healthy and playing well. Let's see. The Giants beat the Redskins 24-17. Kind of disappointed in Washington. I was completely confident in them coming away with the victory here at home. The big Blues defense, they stepped up. And I give all the credit in the world to them. They were able to pretty much take Jason Campbell, force him out of rhythm. They shoved up the run. Portis was just able to have a pedestrian game. They were able to handle all the weapons on the Skins offense. And it's like Gibbs was saying earlier this week, I think he was just trying to be classy, saying we cannot ignore this team or whatever it was, but his words ended up being a lot truer than I'm sure he wanted them to be. As for the Giants, the offense isn't. It needs to get a little better. They turned the ball over like 3 times or something. But Eli's playing all right. He had 2 picks and a fumble, but he came through when it mattered. Derek Ward continues to fill in for Brandon Jacobs quite well. Not an overpowering day by that Giants offense by any means, but it was good enough to win. Couple of stat lines you guys might want to check out. Matthias Kiwanuka, 8 tackles, 2 sacks, and forced a fumble, playing linebacker for the Giants. And LaRon Landry, 11 tackles, the rookie. Big game by LaRon Landry. I love this kid coming out of the draft, and I still do. And Dallas lays into Chicago, and if you were watching the game, you could hear Greasy. And, that's the Chicago fans calling for Brian Greasy, as they should. Rex Grossman, 1 of 15 of 32 for 195 yards and 3 interceptions. That's interceptions, one of which was returned for a touchdown. It's not all on him. I recognize Cedric Benson not playing well and had that costly fumble. They're missing Thomas Jones right now. That receiver ran a poor route on one of those interceptions. But the overall bottom line is I think it's time to see what Brian Greasy can do with this team, because this team is too good to completely fall apart because of the lack of a quarterback. And now they're hurt more on defense than ever before. Lance Briggs out. Tommy Harris got hurt. Reuben Gold on the offensive line. And Nathan Vasher. And with all those injuries, the offense has got to step it up now, because the defense won't be able to be dominant as it was. So I'm looking for Brian Greasy anytime now, man. As for the Cowboys offense, how about Tony Romo? You gotta... what else are you going to say? He's just completely proved all the haters wrong. I'm not completely bought onto the bandwagon yet, but he's had a hell of a season so far, so hats off to him. Marion Barber got more carries than Julius Jones, as he should, and he did something with it. 102 yards on 15 carries. Terrell Owens was a complete beast this game, and I really enjoyed watching him because I love what T.O. is able to do on the field. Creighton playing with that injured pinky wasn't able to catch the ball very well, but Owens made up for it. Witten played well, 90 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown. He's having a good season. DeMarcus Ware back on track. 2 sacks. Anthony Spencer, the rookie, with a sack. This defense is back to where it should be. They completely shut down the Chicago offense while forcing big plays. This is what they needed to do. This is what they hadn't done so far this season. You know, big game for Dallas. Tonight we got New Orleans at Tennessee. I'll make a video about that when the game is over. I still got New Orleans, but we'll see. So that's all I got to say. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.